about to leave, already packing, come with me.
Hello friends and enemies, welcome back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, here with Age Gap Romance Recs. I'm really excited about this. So I've just been like working on building this rec list up for y'all, and this is one that I've kind of had like a list going for a while, and I finally read like one more, which is what I needed. So here we are, it's time. The first thing I'm going to say is, for me, an age gap is anything 10 years and up. So none of these books feature characters with anything less than a 10-year age gap. Just an FYI. And yeah, let's just get right into it. We do have a little mix of older woman, younger man, the usual expected older man, younger woman age gap. And we've got some LGBTQ rep in this list. So honestly, it's going to be a good time. First up, we have one of my favorites, which is 40 Love by Olivia Dade. If you're new here, I love Olivia Dade. I have enjoyed pretty much every single book by her I've read. And yeah, she's just a blast. 40 Love features Tess, an assistant school principal who's on a 2-week vacation to like a exclusive resort island thing with her friend, and she has a really fun meet cute, meet awkward, meet embarrassing with a 26-year-old former tennis star who now teaches tennis at this resort named Lucas. And she ends up like losing her bikini top in the ocean, and he helps her like get to a towel safely without flashing the entire crowd. It follows their like kind of slow burn romance around her 2 weeks there on vacation. It's kind of quick in a way. It is a lot of interior reflection for Tess, trying to figure out how she feels about dating a man that is so much younger than her, because she is 40 and he is 26. So it is a big age gap, and I feel like that's justified. I think it makes sense. She also has some insecurities around her size because she is plus sized and he is a professional athlete, and I totally get that, because I feel like the world is going to say to you that you're too big for him, why would he want to date you, etc, etc, and that's not cool. Like, that sucks. So I totally get that whole part of it too. If you don't want that, this is definitely not going to be for you. There's not a lot of content warnings in this at all. I just thought it was really cute and really sweet. I liked how it was resolved. You know, how we got our happily ever after worked for me, and I just really enjoyed them as a couple for the most part, and I found it to be really refreshing to read an older woman with a younger man, because we definitely do not get enough of that. Next, we have one that is definitely one that I'm going to say you need to proceed with caution. This is The Protege by Brianna Hale. This is not for anyone who does not like a taboo romance, alright? This is dark and taboo, more taboo than dark. This is a guardian ward age gap, technically. This follows Isabeau, who is found by Laszlo at the age of 8 busking on the street, which is like when people are performing in London, and that is how he meets her. He ends up taking her in and raising her to become his protege, and she's a cellist, and it follows that. She confesses her feelings to him at the age of 18, and he rejects her, and then they come back together like a year and a half, 2 years later, and kind of act on those feelings that they had. And it's told in present day and then with some flashbacks. I had a couple issues with some repetition in this that was used. May not bother you, it bugged me, that's just me. And I think my biggest issue with this, which is something I think will be an issue for a lot of people, so I'm gonna tell you now, is that he does talk about having attraction to her when she's like 17 and being jealous that like a boy her age asked her out on a date. This book though overall was really, really fun. It is a daddy kink book also, so go in knowing that. I would say it's pretty light on that part, but it does feature in the story, so if you don't like that, also again, not for you. But this overall was a really good time. It was a fun read. I blew through it really quickly, even with some of the issues I had, and I think it's something that if you're looking for that really dark, really taboo, well, not dark, really taboo romance, this could definitely be the one for you in the age gap category. I want to give some quick content warnings though. So there is lack of lube during a certain scene that really annoyed me. Drug addiction, death of parents. Both are, one is off page and talked about and one happens on page, and one and like liver failure happens in this. So just in case you have sensitivity to that, I don't know. I just wanted to list one of the things that features, because I don't want anyone to like leave this, like go into this already like kind of taboo story and thrown totally off guard. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I thought the integration of music and all that was really fun, and the epilogue on this one was really, really cute. Then we have our male one, which is Just Like That by Colema. I read this when the Karina line launched last summer, and I really liked this. This follows Summer, who comes home to take up a teaching residency at his old boarding school type situation, and he is working with Fox, Isaiah, who is dealing with a lot of grief around the loss of his wife. And they start up a game where Fox rewards Summer with a kiss. You're gonna suspend your disbelief on this one. First things first, like obviously what happened here is not like a real life thing, but we read romance, like we suspend our disbelief already a lot, so I feel like people should be good with that. This really kind of journeys Fox finding light in his life again, and joy, and finding like pleasure, versus with Fox or with Summer around. Like Summer really helps him bring out these things. I cannot remember the content warnings for this one, and I thought I wrote them down, but I did not. So I'm gonna say that you may want to check those first, because this book does deal heavily in grief. It is a pretty quick read. It's under 300 pages, and I really want to read the sequel also, but this one was a good time. Next we have another older woman, younger man, and one that I read recently and absolutely freaking adored. And that is If She Says Yes by Tasha L. Harrison. I don't know if I can say like enough good things about this book. I know I've talked about it. I know Heather from HEA Booktube has talked about it. And a bunch of other people. Like I know that a lot of us have read this and just absolutely adored it. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. This follows Darcy and Tomas, who is her son's best friend and the best man in the wedding. And he used to live with her. It's set in Charleston. The atmosphere, if you've been to Charleston, is perfect, I think. I felt like she really nailed Charleston. Like, still a little touristy, but I think it still had that whole, like, it captured Charleston if you're from South Carolina. If that makes sense. Yeah, so good, because the author is from the Carolinas, so I think she, like, gets it. But we follow Darcy, who is a widow. Her husband passed, and it comes out that he had like a mistress, and her son's getting married, and it's just really, really cute. She's like hosting the wedding kind of in Charleston, and her son asks his best friend Tomas to take care of his mom for the weekend. I mean, let's be honest, when he asked him to take care of his mom, he didn't mean like this, but he took care of her like that, and it was so good. I did not want to finish this book. I didn't want to put it down, and it just features a lot of kind of tension and some angst happening between them. Of course, a lot of, you know, we shouldn't do this, but we're going to. And I really liked how it ended, because it didn't end with like a big blow up with the friendship. It just ended with the two of them together. And we didn't have to see that part, and I don't feel like we have to see that part. It wasn't like that dramatic. But Tomas kind of left the relationship, but realizing that he needs to explore some things and figure out what he needed to do to be happy, because he was like throwing himself too much into work. And Darcy realized that she needed to accept the idea of actually being loved by somebody, because her ex-husband was kind of terrible. Smoking hot book though, like very steamy. So good. Yeah, highly recommend. Highly recommend. Then we have the last one, which is To Be Alone With You by Jody Slaughter. This is one that I was nervous to read, and I think a lot of us are, because it is set during the pandemic. And actually this is the kind of story I want to read that's set during the pandemic personally. So this follows Naomi and Ira. Naomi confesses her feelings to Ira, and he turns her down. She's like 18 or 20. And we come back to them being older, and he is now like in his late 30s or 40, and she's 30, something like that. We're, you know, we've grown. We're an adult. And he says like he turned her down because she was too young. Very valid. And she ends up at his guest house in the desert in California. I think it's Joshua Tree. I'm not positive though. And they, it's like early 2020, like that winter, like February maybe, or early March, somewhere in there. And they end up, she's at the guest house to like have a little vacation and get away from everything. And he's like this famous sculptor. She met him through her mom, who like taught sculpting stuff. And he has this whole studio out there in this guest house. So she's out there, there's a lot of tension. And then slowly the world starts to shut down and she like loses her job. So there's that happening, and it's very like stressful but sweet, because he's like, you should just stay here, there's no point. So she stays, and it goes from there. There is a smoking hot scene in the car and a chase scene, and I think the car scene's my favorite. So if you read it, you'll have to let me know if you've read it, which one was your favorite. But whew, it was so good. I really loved this. I love Jodie Slaughter. I adore her writing. I have read everything she's written so far, and I cannot wait to read more. So I'm hoping that, you know, whatever she comes out with next also is amazing. But if you were nervous about pandemic related books, this is definitely what I think is worth picking up. And it's just a nice quick little novella. That is it for my age gap romance recommendations. Let me know if you have any favorite age gap romances in the comments, or you can just leave a star emoji of some kind in the comments if you don't want to leave me a rec. And if you need links to any of these books, those will be in that description box for you. You can also find links to Be My Friend anywhere on the internet. I will talk to y'all in just a few days. Bye.
About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distraction.